It's a very long gospel, and there's many, many, many different things that we could pull out of this gospel. And I'm not going to do it all today because we'd be here much longer. But one of the commentaries I read said that John, or the gospel writer, wrote this in a very different way than typically most gospel passages are written. This is written, and if you look at it again and recall the words and the dialogue, it's almost written in the form of a play. Because you have people interacting, don't you? And typically the gospel passages are not one-sided, they're two-sided, of course, but it's Jesus normally speaking to his disciples directly. But this way, he's part of the play, if you will. He's the instigator, isn't he? But it's sort of like a dialogue. So let's explore that dialogue a little bit. And some of the interesting things that come about and how I think we should play in that dialogue as well. One of the things that comes out is, the fact of sin. We have lots of different discussion of sin here, and we really look at some of the theological ends of that sin and what's causing it, and where John is trying to pull out this concept of sin and how it's reflected in this passage. First off, at that time, many Jews believed that the sins of the father were held down through the generations. So that's why that question. Was it he that sinned or his parents? And of course we know that God is not like that. Just because we sin, he's not giving us an infirmity. But let's look at blindness. He had a physical blindness that was cured. But what about the blindness that we have to our own sins? One of the Psalms says, sin speaks to the sinner. So if we think about the sins that we're blind to, the things that we do that we're spiritually blind, and we don't accept the fact that these are sins. And what does that sin do? It keeps us from an encounter with Jesus. And in this gospel passage, we have encounter, we have conversion, and we have sent forth. Isn't that what we're here for? Isn't that why we come to Mass? We have an encounter with our Lord in the Eucharist. It should convert our hearts to the sins that we're blind to. And then at the end of Mass, the deacon or the priest commissions you to go forth. You're to go forth and take that conversion that occurred to you into the world. The sin that you brought to the altar to ask for forgiveness, the time of communion, that you're blind to, and you receive that forgiveness, don't do that again in the world. Take that out, take that part of you out, so you can have an intimate, deep relationship with our Lord. Because really, the sin that is being talked about in this passage is the denial of Jesus as God. The Pharisees, Jesus says at the end, you're still sinners because you may not be blind, but you still don't see. You don't see the fact that I am the Lord, the Son of the Most High. He doesn't see that. They don't see that. And that's a sin of rejection. And that's a broader sin. But isn't every little sin that we do a rejection of God, rejection of Jesus as the Son of God? So we need to be constantly looking with our spiritual eyes at how we can change our lives. And we have a couple more weeks of Lent to dwell on that a little stronger and to make those conversions, those turning away from sin and turning to Jesus. As we approach the altar today, receive him in his in bread and wine, the body, blood, and soul, and divinity of our Lord. Keep those thoughts in mind. Be converted. Give up that little sin that you like so much.